Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox, where we talk about all things Xbox from the original to the Series X, and on today's agenda is a review of Ultra Bust-A-Move. This game was first released exclusively on the Xbox on November 4th, 2004, but ended up being ported to the PSP just a few years after. It was developed by Taito and published by Majesco. I want to give a shout out to Loco Gaming Rocker 5014 for suggesting this review. Thank you for the recommendation. Now, if you're familiar with the Bust-A-Move series, you know it's an addictive puzzle game involving matching colored bubbles. I've got some fond memories of Bust-A-Move 4 on the Dreamcast, spending countless hours in competitive battles with my friends. This franchise, born in 1994, has brought joy to many puzzle game lovers over the years like myself. So, as we were commemorating its 10th anniversary in 2004, we got this brand new entry. Let's dive into this installment and see how it measures up against its predecessors and whether it delivers an enjoyable experience. In Ultra Bust-A-Move, the core gameplay remains true to the classic formula. You're equipped with a launcher positioned at the bottom of the screen, directly under your character's control. Your task is simple: maneuver the launcher to align and match the bubbles above by color. It's a design choice I appreciate, as simplicity often reigns supreme in puzzle games. However, it's worth noting that without the guiding line feature, mastering your shots can prove to be quite challenging. One notable aspect I admire is the game's approach to increasing difficulty. As you progress through various game modes, it gradually removes your guiding line, forcing you to rely on your skill in gauging the trajectory of your launches. This change prevents players from becoming overly dependent on trajectory cues and adds a layer of skill to the gameplay, especially in the harder levels. When it comes to controls, there's not much to elaborate on. It's a matter of moving your launcher left and right with the analog stick and firing with the A button. However, I did find that the somewhat slower movement of the launcher was a little painful. Typically, I'd expect the analog stick to provide faster movement, while the D-pad handles more precise shots. In this game, both control methods are relatively sluggish. While not a major issue, there are moments when you already know where you need to position your launcher, and this deliberate pace can feel somewhat tedious. It's worth noting that some of the previous entries in the series felt faster, and maintaining that level of energy would have been a welcome touch. In Bust-A-Move, the gameplay varies depending on the game mode, but it usually involves racing against the clock as the bubbles inch closer to the bottom. If you fail to clear these bubbles with enough combos, it results in a game over. The slower movement of the launcher gives you ample time to rectify the situation as the danger steadily escalates. However, it just doesn't quite align with the breakneck pace one might expect from a game like this. Nevertheless, there's an immensely satisfying aspect to the combo system. Shooting a bubble that has a string of bubbles beneath it triggers a chain reaction, causing them to fall and knock out more bubbles of the same color. With a bit of planning, you can orchestrate these combos, and when it all falls into place, the sense of accomplishment is gratifying. This is where the game retains its addictive and enjoyable qualities. Even if it's slightly slower pace, the sheer delight of eliminating a screen full of bubbles is one colorful, beautiful, enjoyable experience. This game tries to sustain enjoyment through its variety of game modes, with the most significant being the Versus mode. Here, the game truly shines by offering split-screen multiplayer, computer opponents, and even Xbox Live support. If you are running the Insignia project on your Xbox, this game has matchmaking available. Multiplayer is often the lifeblood of puzzle games, and this one stays true to that principle. In the classic versus mode, your objective is not only to fend off the advancing line of bubbles, but also to send an overwhelming barrage of bubbles to your opponent's side by creating combos. This has consistently been my preferred way to experience Bust-A-Move, as it generates a frenzied, heart-pounding energy, especially when competing in the same room as somebody else. Versus mode also presents two intriguing variants, color and count mode. Both modes involve switching between two characters on a single board. In color mode, the challenge is to match bubbles of a specific color, while count mode revolves around eliminating the most bubbles. These modes introduce a strategic dimension to the gameplay, prompting you to consider whether to create a specific combo, potentially setting up your opponent for a larger one, or perhaps obstructing your opponent's next move. While these modes are less fast-paced than classic versus mode, they offer a different style of enjoyment. However, this was not the game mode that kept me coming back for more. The single-player experience primarily centers on its classic mode, which unfortunately is rather basic. It involves completing sets of puzzles where your goal is to clear every bubble from a grid. While that's fun and straightforward, it lacks any semblance of story or overarching theme. You're presented with just a grid, you select it, and you tackle the puzzles on the grid. There's no cohesive narrative or thematic connection at all, and this minimalistic approach left me just wanting more charm and engagement from this experience. Taito attempted to diversify the game with additional modes, but these often felt like filler experiences, not something you'd revisit frequently. Shot mode provides you with a single bubble, and you must determine how to clear an entire board with just one shot. It's fast, but not enjoyable due to its brevity. Blind mode hides all of the bubbles for you, requiring you to place bubbles around concealed ones to figure out what colors are underneath it. While an intriguing concept, it can become tedious, especially when poor color choices are applied to the hidden bubbles. Finally, Seesaw mode stands out as the most inventive game mode. Here, your board is balanced, and when you launch a bubble to either side, it tilts in that direction. The objective is to achieve a perfect balance, preventing your board from tipping over while you clear out the puzzle. This mode adds another layer of challenge while maintaining a steady pace, making this one a positive addition to the game. However, these game modes collectively offer more of a one-time trial experience rather than enduring engagement. For devoted Bust-A-Move fans, the real enjoyment lies in the versus mode and classic mode. Both are extremely fun, but it's disappointing to see the game relying on filler experiences rather than substantial ones. This is where the game falls short in my view. While its core gameplay is solid, it needed more depth to maintain my interest during solitary play. One rather odd aspect I can't help but notice is the absence of Bub and Bob, the endearing dinosaurs that originated from the Bubble Bobble series of games. They felt like the franchise mascots for Bust-A-Move, yet here they've been completely replaced by somewhat ugly dolls. While the new characters have a certain cuteness to them, they simply can't hold a candle to the charm of the original characters that were a staple in these games. I understand that this game is aiming for an exaggerated, cute style, which I appreciate. The bright and colorful aesthetic sets it apart, with the character models that stand out from the crowd on the Xbox. However, I can't help but feel a tinge of sadness at the absence of Bub and Bob, as I don't believe the new characters possess the same charm. It's challenging to critique the graphics too much though, considering it is a straightforward puzzle game with minimal visual complexity. I will say the cute art style is a standout here. I always love bright colors on the Xbox. It's a welcome artistic choice. The music is delightful as well, perhaps one of my favorite elements of this game. It's whimsical and somewhat reminiscent of circus music, yet highly catchy. I never found it grating, and I often found myself humming these tunes even after finishing the game. However, the sound effects can be a different story. This is a common issue in many games of this type, but the characters in this game make some ear-piercing noises when performing combos or getting hit by other players' bubbles. It's difficult to discern what they're saying, but they seem to repeat the same phrases over and over. Initially, this can be annoying, but strangely, when playing with another person, it tends to become a source of amusement. It takes on a bizarre, humorous quality that can actually enhance the experience when playing with somebody else. In conclusion, Ultra Bust-A-Move at its core is undeniably fun. It retains the same addictive gameplay as its predecessors, albeit at a slightly slower pace. It truly shines when played with friends, offering an enjoyable multiplayer experience. However, its overall appeal is dampened by the absence of Bub and Bob and the limited variety in replayable game modes. It feels like a somewhat bare-bones package, lacking in the depth to sustain prolonged playthroughs. While it has its addictive qualities, it doesn't quite achieve the status of a premier puzzle game package. I would recommend Ultra Bust-A-Move to die-hard Bust-A-Move fans who are eager to experience it on the Xbox. However, it's worth noting it may not keep you engaged for extended periods. On my ranking list, this game falls at number 40 out of 51. It ranks below Madden 2002 because I believe the latter offers a wider array of game modes and more things to try to maintain player interest. However, it surpasses MX Superfly because Bust-A-Move's gameplay is inherently more addictive. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed this review, please consider liking and subscribing to see more content like this. Feel free to leave a comment below sharing your memories of Bust-A-Move or any favorite puzzle games, and let me know what you'd want to see me play next, but I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.